In an attempt to create a real-life Charmander, I took DNA from my pet lizard here and spliced it together with DNA from our pet goldfish in our own laboratory. This process did not take very long before we fertilized eggs and set them in their incubators. When they began to hatch, we were so surprised with how they looked. What you are seeing is a half goldfish, half lizard, what I call Charmander. They're wonderful and beautiful creatures. We've sold many of them and let the rest go into the wild. Thanks for watching. In an attempt to create a real-life dinosaur, we took DNA from one of our pet alligators and spliced it together with DNA from one of our snakes in our own laboratory. We fertilized eggs, and after a few months they were born. These are some of the world's first half-alligator, half-snake hybrids. They were small but grew up quite quick, and as you can see they retained their snake-like bodies, but with a new feature, arms and legs. They're actually pretty cute. As you can see, their arms and legs are quite small, and so they don't really use them all that much when moving around. We wanted them a lot bigger, so we let these ones go back into the wild where they belong. Thanks for watching. In an attempt to create a real-life Loch Ness monster, we took DNA from our pet seahorse and spliced it together with DNA from our family duck. We took their samples to our lab, where we spliced them together and we quickly fertilized eggs. After a few months, these eggs began to hatch, and the creatures instantly began swimming. Here they are right now. They continued to grow larger until finally they turned into what we call a real-life Loch Ness monster. And although they aren't as big as we expected, we're continuing to grow them. These ones were sent back into the wild where they belong. Thanks for watching, and follow for part 2. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of our pet cows and splicing it together with one of our very own half monkey, half dogs in an attempt to create the strongest cow in the world. We took their DNA to the lab and spliced it together. The results were astounding. Part cow, part gorilla, this is the strongest cow in the world. They're extremely playful and docile and lovable animals. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of my pet centipedes and splicing it together with DNA from one of my snakes. We took their samples to our laboratory where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs for our chicken to keep warm. And when they hatched, the snakeipede was born. This is the world's first half snake, half centipede. It is very large, getting up to 4 or 5 feet long. They're extremely friendly and kind of cute. Follow for part 2. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of my snake eel hybrids, splicing it together with DNA from our green alien worm, and also DNA from our cucumber. We took their samples to our laboratory where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs. Soon after, they were born. You are looking at the world's first cucumber worm. They started off small but grew quickly. We only made one of them, but as you can see, it resembles a cucumber. Please follow for part 2 where we see what they taste like. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from our watermelon plant and splicing it together with DNA from our home chickens. We took the samples to our laboratory where we spliced them together and created a whole new species of plant. We were able to successfully plant the eggs, and they grew into egg plants. As you can see, the eggs that grow on these plants are that of chickens. This process could revolutionize what we know about farming and food. Thank you for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of our pet black cats and splicing it together with DNA from one of our pet raccoons. We took their samples to our laboratory where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs. And after many months, they were born. You are looking at the world's first half raccoon, half cat. We call them catcoons. They're extremely playful and intelligent, but they are a little wild, as you can see. They've retained their raccoon hair, but their cat-like bodies. Thanks for watching. Follow for part 2. This experiment started off by taking DNA and splicing it together with DNA from our pet rattlesnake and alligator snapping turtle. We took their samples to our lab where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs. And after 5 months, they were born. These new creatures are venomous and quite dangerous, but surprisingly docile. They move so strange, and they let us hold them. My father liked this one in particular, so I gave it to him, and the rest of them got sent back to our home. This experiment started off by taking DNA from our pet seal and splicing it together with DNA from our pet cat in our home laboratory. After splicing eggs, it only took about 2 months for them to hatch. We bottle-fed these amazing new creatures until they were old enough to eat on their own. What you are looking at is the world's first half-cat, half-seal animal hybrid. I made these initially for my wife as she wanted something playful as a pet, but we made quite a few, and so we sold some of them. Here's a happy customer who bought them. Please be sure to follow me on my new Instagram account for exclusive daily content. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of our pet worms, splicing it together with DNA from one of our pet sharks here. We took their samples to our laboratory where we spliced them together, fertilized eggs, and we had our chicken keep them warm until they were ready to hatch. And after 5 months, they were born. These are the world's first worm sharks. They're half worm, half shark. They breathe air and can also breathe underwater. They're extremely intelligent and very friendly. These are some of the most amazing creatures we've ever made. We've let some of them go and kept many for ourselves. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of our snake-eel hybrids and mixing it with our Pikachu hybrid. We took their DNA to our laboratory where we quickly fertilized frog eggs. This process took a lot longer than we expected and was a lot more complicated than expected, but as you can see over time, we were successful in fertilizing eggs. We weren't quite sure what to expect, but as you can see, the results are astounding. This is the world's first frog, Pikachu, and eel hybrid. It is electric and is a water creature. As you can see, I started an Instagram. Please follow me over there for exclusive content. This experiment started off by taking DNA from a grasshopper and splicing it together with DNA from a rose. We took their samples to the lab where we carefully spliced them together, and after 3.5 weeks, they were born. These are some of the most amazing and unique creatures we've ever created, as they are half plant, half insect. We bred about 5,000 of them and let them go into the wild. I hope you can find one. Thanks for watching. Started off by taking DNA from one of my pet lobsters and splicing it together with a super grub. We took their samples to our laboratory where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs. We made about 100 of them. This is the first ever land lobster. It's half grub, half lobster. It burrows like a grub, but looks like a lobster. They're extremely playful and friendly and cute, and they're extremely tasty. We're working on deals with major distributors to bring these to a shelf in a store near you. This experiment started off by taking DNA from our pet polar bear and splicing it together with DNA from our pet sloth in our home laboratory. The process did not take long before we fertilized eggs, and after 5 months they were born. When they were fully grown, this is what they looked like. You were seeing the world's first half sloth, half polar bear. We call them a polar sloth. Although they do look like polar bears, they still resemble sloths and are very slow. They're extremely friendly, playful, cute, and they love to just lie around. These are some of the greatest creations we have ever made. This experiment started off by taking DNA from our pet jellyfish and splicing it together with DNA from our household pig. We took the samples to a laboratory where we spliced them together and successfully created the world's first half jellyfish, half pig. Once the eggs hatched, they were some of the coolest and cutest creatures we had ever seen. They were extremely small, but grew up very quickly. They loved to stay moist, and they loved to be held. These are some of the most amazing creatures we have ever made. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of our pet deers and splicing it together with DNA from one of our pet lab rats. We took their DNA samples to a laboratory where we spliced them together to quickly fertilized eggs, and after 3.5 months, they were born. This is the world's first half-rat, half-deer animal hybrid. They're extremely cute, playful, but extremely intelligent. These are some of our favorite animals we've made yet. We gave some of them away to zoos, but kept some for ourselves. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of our caterpillars and splicing it together with DNA from one of our pet hamsters in our laboratory. We spliced them together and fertilized eggs, and after about 5 months, they were born. This is what I call the hamster pillar. It is half caterpillar and half hamster. And yes, I know it looks like Trump's toupee. They're extremely cute and friendly and love to hang around our garden. Thanks for watching. In an attempt to create a walking fish, I took DNA from one of my big pet frogs and spliced it together with one of our original walking fish. We took their DNA samples to a laboratory where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs. And after a few months, they were born. You are looking at the world's first half fish, half frog. It breathes oxygen. It has arms and legs like a frog. It has the body of a fish. They're very gentle and love to be held. They spend half of their time on land and the other half in water. It would let many go into the wild where they belong. Thanks for watching. This new species of animal started off by taking DNA from our pet gorilla and splicing it together with DNA from our pet black lab in the laboratory. This process did not take long, and after 4 months' time, our creation was born. This is the world's first half gorilla, half dog. You can see it's extremely muscular, much more than its brother. He's a very cute and fun and lovable dog, but he's very strong. Make sure to follow me on my new Instagram channel for daily content and exclusive new merchandise. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of our brain worm balls and splicing it with a cucumber worm and the spider jellyfish from our last video. We took their samples to a laboratory where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs, and after a few months they were born. At first, these creatures seemed unassuming and gentle, and even kind of funny. But as they grew larger, they did something that we never expected. They shot a venom-like substance out of their mouths that quickly spread wherever it could. Not only was this venomous, but this is how they multiply. I was quite surprised with this creature. Within 3 weeks, we had about 5,000 of them, and we did not release these into the wild as we typically would. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from our pet snake and splicing it together with DNA from our pet caterpillar. We took their samples to the lab where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs. This process took 5 months, and after that they were born. We were witnessing the first snaker pillar, half snake, half caterpillar. These are amazing for gardens as they'll help eat any pests in your plants. I keep hundreds of them on my property. These are some of the most amazing creatures we've made yet. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from our pet kangaroo and splicing it together with DNA from our pet rat. We took the samples to the lab where we spliced them together successfully, and after 3.5 months, they were born. We were looking at the world's first half rat, half kangaroo. It was a very lean creature, but as it grew, it also grew wider and fatter, but they're still cute and playful and lovable. We kept a few for ourselves and let many go into the wild. Be sure to follow me on my new Instagram channel where you'll have daily updates and exclusive new animals. People think pigeons are dirty, so I took pigeon DNA and spliced it together with carrot DNA in our home laboratory. We fertilized eggs and put them in their incubators for many weeks until they began to hatch. And when they were born, we created the parrot pigeon. They look like pigeons, but are colorful like parrots. We let them go in some of the surrounding cities to see how they interacted with the other pigeons, and they fit in perfectly. We kept one of them for our own and let the rest go back into the cities where they belong. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from one of our pet black widows, splicing it together with DNA from one of our pet jellyfish. We took their samples to a laboratory where we spliced them together and fertilized eggs. But soon after they began to hatch, something extraordinary happened. They continued to cocoon until they made a black jelly blob. It almost looked like it breathed. It came to life when you put it in water, and even feasted on other animals. It continued to grow very large, and so we let it go into our local pond. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from our very own mouse deer and splicing it together with our half-pig, half-chipmunk. We took their samples to the lab where we spliced them together in fertilized eggs, and after many months, they were born. You are looking at one of the world's most unique creatures. This hybrid animal is the result of two other hybrid animals. It has hoofs and a face like a deer, the size of a mouse, and the snout of a pig. They are extremely cute and playful and fun. Thanks for watching. This new animal species started off by taking DNA from a horse and splicing it with DNA from our pet rabbit in our home laboratory. This process did not take very long until we fertilized eggs and set them in their incubators, where they stayed for 5 months until they hatched. What you are about to see is the world's first half horse, half rabbit. We bottle fed them until they were old enough to be on their own and eat solid foods. You can notice their hooves and their horse-like face with their rabbit body. They're amazing creatures. Follow us on our new Instagram channel where we'll show you exclusive content and daily updates. Thanks for watching. This experiment started off by taking DNA from our pet giant frog here and mixing it with DNA from our pet crocodile. We took their DNA to the lab where we spliced it together, and after long, we fertilized eggs. After months of incubation, they began to hatch. When they were born, they had crocodile bodies with frog-like skin, but they continued to grow larger and larger and larger until after long, they were too large for us to keep, and so we let them go into the wild where they belonged. These are one of the most amazing creatures we've ever made, and they're so cool. Be sure to follow me on my new Instagram page